This is a Culture Inject production.
Welcome back to the Nevers Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the discussion and dissection of every episode of upcoming HBO series, The Nevers, from writer-director Joss Whedon. You can download and stream our episodes from Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or like and subscribe on YouTube. Better yet, visit us at hbothenevers.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at HBO The Nevers. If you have any comments, questions or topic suggestions, send them to theneverspodcast at gmail.com. And if you really want to show some love, consider Patreon. Benefits include personalised shoutouts on the podcast, access to our VIP Facebook group, Nevers Podcast swag, entry into our amazing giveaways, and access to Dollhouse Awaken, our bi-weekly show where we revisit every episode of Dollhouse. And there's a lot more to come. Just search the Nevers Podcast Patreon. I'm Taheg, and joining me today are Heather.
Hi.
And Gina.
Hey. What's been going on with you guys since the last time we recorded?
I've had allergies for a solid week. It has been awful. I don't even know what to do with myself anymore. I'm so tired of sneezing. My nose is the size of Texas. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the pollen in America, but it's all up my nose.
It's the worst, and I get sinus headaches, so I can't even concentrate or do anything. Ooh.
No, I do too. I've got sinuses as we speak right now, so it's, and I didn't want to take anything for it because it tends to make me sleepy and knock me out. And so, yeah, that wouldn't be good. I do have a correction from the last podcast, which it's not news, but Ella Smith, who plays Desiree Blodgett, who plays one of the characters in the Nevers. I kept calling her Ella Bell, which is her social media handle, and her name is Ella Smith. So apologies to Ella.
Yeah, I haven't really been up to much. The weather has become much hotter in England, which is not good because we're good with kind of temperate and rainy. We're not good with hot and muggy. The country as a whole grinds to a halt, and as we'd already ground to a halt, we have actually now started just going back in time. We're going so slowly, so yeah, not good.
What's the definition of hot in England, Tyke?
See, this is the point where if my brain was working properly, I'd say a famous celebrity that's very attractive, but I can't. My brain is shut down, so I can't think of any. I'd say that the definition of hot. I mean, this week it's been kind of the lowest it's been is about 26, which I now remember you guys don't use that temperature scale in America. So I think it peaked at about 32 in the city, which isn't actually that hot, but because the humidity is really high, it just makes everything worse. Like I've been soggy for the past week just because of the humidity.
Ugh. Oh, humidity's the worst. That's why I love Denver. Yeah. Oh, so 32 is almost 90.
Okay, yeah, that's hot.
Yes. Yeah,
that's hot, 90. Especially with humidity. That's hot.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm from Florida, so it's literally a swamp. So it's hot and it's super humid. Ooh, I feel for you. Yeah, I haven't been up to much either. Just trying to finish this script rewrite. Do you guys like rewriting, or do you like writing the first draft more?
I tend to start writing, get about 3/4 of the way through, get distracted by a second project and start working on that and forget the first one ever existed.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
And it's just a constant. My writing and rewriting is weird. I write, and then I'll go back. I won't finish, and I'll go back and reread, and I'll start rewriting while I'm in process. And then I'll finish, and then I'll go back and tear it all apart. So it's all kind of the same thing to me. I mean, I recognize the value of rewriting. Like, no one ever has a good first draft. That's just, anybody that thinks they do is not not a good critical
Yeah.
writer.
Yeah.
So
I've always been a fan of the sort of the idiom that the first draft is just about getting it on the page. The second draft is about getting it right.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to write with outlines. I start with an outline and then I fill it in because I have to have like milestones. All right, let's get into the discussion. This is the music of the Whedonverse for television and film score junkies, a discussion on the varied musical styles of Joss Whedon's many projects. Disclaimer. These are the songs and scores that the Nevers podcast team considers the most memorable in the Whedonverse. Your list may differ, and we fully recognize and respect that music is very subjective. There were many songs and scores that could have made it into the list, but we didn't want to be here forever, and we're going to be here for a while anyway, so we tried to keep it to a minimum.
Yes.
So, accept our apologies if we don't talk about your favorite moment.
Yeah, because honestly, we could spend like at least 10 hours. The first type of projects that we're going to delve into is television. So the music from the television side of the Whedonverse. And we have to start with the one and only Buffy the Vampire Slayer theme song.
Yeah, and Buffy's going to be the longest part because Buffy was on for 7 years. Buffy had a bar with bands that played, so it'll be the majority of what we cover.
Oh man, I don't really like Buffy, so that sucks.
Poor Gina. What are you even doing
exactly.
here?
So the theme song was performed by Nerf Herder, also covered by the Breeders. So they were formed in 1994 in Santa Barbara, California, by Perry Grip, Charlie Dennis, and Steve Sherlock. That's the coolest name. They describe themselves as a geek rock band and are known for simplistic modern punk-style songs with frequently humorous, juvenile, and pop culture referencing lyrics. They performed their songs Mr. Spock and Rock City News the night that Faith took Dawn and the potential Slayers to the Bronze in Season 7. I did not know that. Also, really quick, weird side note. My sister and I got chosen to perform at Music Festival at San Diego Comic-Con a few years ago, and we have a few Buffy songs, and we messaged Nerf Herder if they would not open for us, of course not, because they're already performing in the same music festival, but just kind of if they introed us with the Buffy theme song, that would be the coolest thing ever. It didn't happen, but I'm glad I had the courage to try and have that happen.
Oh, that's dope. That would have been cool.
Right. Maybe one day,
So we're gonna start off with the songs, and because Buffy had the Bronze, a lot of bands that were up and coming, especially in the LA area at that time, played the Bronze. About the performances at the Bronze, music supervisor John King said that we like to use unsigned bands that you would believe that would play the place. So they didn't want powerhouse acts. They wanted people that would, be on the LA bar scene touring, or the California bar scene. Technically, Sunnydale wasn't LA. So one of the first, I think in the Pack, a band called Sprung Monkey played several songs at the Bronze, and Sprung Monkey was kind of the same flavor as they were kind of punk and a little bit of rap. So their big moment came when the Pack entered the Bronze, and they were playing. And so everybody remembers when Xander was hanging out with those four people that were not very nice, and came into the Bronze making fun of everybody and picking on everybody and all. Good times.
I've got to say, the Pack contains one of my favourite musical scenes, possibly in the entirety of Buffy. It's that point, it's just after they've been turned, where they're they're hungry and they're walking across the quads in the high school, and the music it builds, and then it just stops dead for a second, and you see them walking, and then it kind of kicks in again with this massive drop. Yeah, it's such a beautiful scene.
Yeah, it is, and the camera kind of does that traverse around Xander, who's kind of looking around like he doesn't really know who he is yet, and that's a really great moment. I meant to put that in there and spaced it. Dingoes Ate My Baby was Oz's band that played the Bronze several times. 4-Star Mary was the actual band that played for them. So anytime you saw Dingoes Ate My Baby playing, it was actually 4-Star Mary. And they actually had their own song, Pain, appear in several episodes. They liked that song for some reason. It's a great song. Like, that's one of the songs that's on the Buffy soundtrack. And also the Breeders song, Gina, is on that soundtrack too. Darling Violetta appeared in season 3, Faith, Hope, Trick, also composed the Angel theme song. So that's pretty interesting. They played Blue Sun. Biff Naked. She was a punk chick with like huge arms and all these tattoos.
Yeah.
So she was in season 4, Harsh Light of Day. She played Lucky, Moan of Weakness, and anything at a UC Sunnydale party that Buffy goes to with Parker. Gross. Jonathan Levinson, who in Superstar was the star of the show, he performed Hey Sunny, Serenade in Blue, and Trapped in Superstar. The band was the Royal Crown Review with Brad Kane, who played Tucker Wells, Andrew's brother, in The Prom that released The Dogs on the Prom. He was the actual singer of those songs. And that was a really great scene where people were dancing and Jonathan, everybody was like, oh, I just saw something off the new album. And
I love that episode.
Amy Mann, who was also famous for being the lead singer for Till Tuesday. She played the club. She played the Bronze in season 7 Sleeper and played This Is How It Goes and Pavlov's Bell. She is the only real act to ever have dialogue in the episode. She said, man, I hate playing vampire towns.
I always wondered, there's a few kind of references outside of the Scoobies to the idea that actually everyone was kind of aware of what was going on in Sunnydale. There was that line. And then, I think it was the end of season 2. Well, it was when Spike attacks the school on Parents' Night. And afterwards you see Snyder talking to it's either the police or the ambulance man. And he's like, oh, let's just say the usual story, thugs or gang members on PCP. He's like, what we're going to do, tell them the truth.
Right,
yeah.
So I was wondering, that does really imply that Snyder knew about vampires and knew that Sunnydale was just a hotbed of disaster. So why was he still such a dick to Buffy? He must have known she was sort of fighting for them. And obviously there's the Class Protector Award. Best moment in that season. So, it's clear that everyone knew what was going on, but why was he still such a dick to her?
Well, I feel like also at the end of season 2 when he was, talking about all that mess was, he was also making way for the mayor, right? Mm-hmm. But I think, Snyder had so many problems. Like he was evil. The Breeders, season 7, him, played Little Fury and Son of 3. They play the Bronze while Dawn is flirting with RJ, who was actually, I guess, turned out to be a vampire and was trying to get his fangs into her. The funny thing I read about the Breeders playing the Bronze is, Kim Deal was one of the founding members of the Pixies. And you can imagine how wild that was. So her and her sister started the Breeders after she left the Pixies. They're twins, Gina. I don't know if you knew that or not. No. Kim and Kelly Dill are twins. And the Breeders have a great catalog, but they are also, for a while, were huge party animals. And I read that they had such a hard time keeping the band on track filming their appearance because they loved Buffy and they wanted to be in it, which is why they covered the theme song. But they were drinking and smoking weed and running around, and they said it took them a whole day to get the shot because the Breeders were just out of control.
I mean, you're only going to be in that situation once, especially if you behave like that. So you've got to make the most of your appearance on such a legend. By that point, that was season 7, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So by that point, we knew that Buffy was A, coming to an end, and B, just this entertainment juggernaut. I'm pretty sure if I was on the show, I would be exactly the same. I can't really hold it against them.
Well, and I mean, if you're talking about, Kim Deal and the Pixies, like, it was actually a get for Buffy. Like, they started getting some really important acts in the last couple of seasons, which kind of belied, who the Bronze would normally have. But, so I thought it was, they apparently must have made the request, because I don't think the music supervisors would have asked them. You know what I mean? Because they were just too big of an act. Other interesting moments, memorable songs, of course, Dashboard Prophets, Ballad for Dead Friends. Season 1 in the slow-mo, when Darla and her gang roll up to the Bronze. I thought that was amazing. It was the whole Reservoir Dogs kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Pack is obviously number 1. I think that would definitely be a number 2 kind of musical cue.
Right. Right.
That was a brilliant, brilliant scene.
Yeah, when that happened, I was like, hey, you know what? I could be into this show. They get the music thing, right? Also, the infamous Chiba Mato played Sugarwater in season 2 when she was bad, when Buffy returned after being murdered and resurrected after fighting the Master. And apparently she's got some issues to work out, so she starts grinding all up on Xander in front of Angel while the song plays. And it's one of the iconic Buffy moments with Sarah getting down, and everybody was like, what is the matter with her?
I'm on a concrete way. The wind is blowing to the northwest.
Oh my god. When season 2 started that way, because my friend Josh, he's the one that showed my sister and I Buffy, he was like, oh, season 2 is when it really starts. I'm like, yeah, sure. And when season 2 started that way and Buffy's doing things like that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is how this season's gonna go. All right. So good.
So how was it for you, Taheg? Were you just like, whoa?
Yeah, that was what you call a cushion on the trousers moment. An excellent scene, a very memorable scene from my my childhood there.
And I'm sorry, really, really quick. I'm one of those weird people that really felt bad for Xander that Buffy didn't like him.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay, see, I'm not that weird. So I love that moment that she's just dancing with him, because the audience, the characters, everyone's like, what? And then, yeah. And I'm a Buffy Angel girl, so like any conflict with Buffy and Angel is like amazing. Anyway.
See, and I felt sorry for Xander. I felt sorry for Xander in that scene because it gave him false hope. Like, she was using him to get to Angel, and I felt like that was not fair of her. The complication of that is amazing, but you could just see on Xander's face. First he was confused, and then he was like, "Go with it," and then then he realized he was being punked, if you will. Speaking of sexy girls dancing, Chinese Burn was the song that Buffy threw caution to the wind and started partying with Faith. That was the big kind of industrial electronica song they were dancing to on the dance floor with all the boys and just getting completely wild. The band was called Curvin, was pretty popular in the 90s. That song apparently was in X-Men in their promotional trailer, and was used in La Femme Nikita too. So
cool. That
was a dope scene. Like I went a little gay while that was going on. I was like, oh, Lordy. And I read that Sarah said she had the best time cutting loose in that scene with Faith, with Eliza, because, usually she's, Buffy's the prim and proper. And she said she had a really good time, like just tearing it up. Okay. So we're going to go to season 3, The Prom. Now everyone knows this heartbreaking moment. Wild Horses was sung by the Sundays, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. I love them. They are out of the UK. They covered the Rolling Stones song. That's who originated it. And it was when Buffy dances with Angel before Angel dips and goes to LA.
A sad but necessary scene.
I was so heartbroken for her. Just rip my heart out and throw it on the floor and stomp on it, like disappeared into the fog. I mean, and they just given her class protector like Taheg was talking about earlier, and, then he shows up. And I don't know, like, would it have been better if he just left? Like, I felt like it gave her a little bit of false hope. So, in season 4, when Veruca showed up, her band, Shy, distracted Oz to the point of just unable to focus on anything, including Willow around him. The band that did the music for Shy was called THC, and I didn't know that until I put part of this show together. And it was obvious to Willow that he was sexually attracted to the lead singer. And it turns out later it's because Veruca was a werewolf. But I remember watching her sing that first song where, Oz was just like, bah, just completely locked onto her. And she had so much lip gloss on while she was singing and just being completely provocative. And I was worried about her getting it all in the mic. It was...
Obviously, the world is different today, but there's been way too many bars that I've sung at where I've put my mouth right on the mic, and like looking back at it, I'm like, wait a minute, I should not have done that. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I just that whole scene was so sexual. I felt like she was. I'm sure she was making an effort to be as provocative as she could, and it worked. And just poor Oz was like dumbstruck, and I was waiting for Willow to just wave a hand in front of his face and be like, "Are you still here?" Behind Blue Eyes, Giles was performing in the espresso pump. The gang came to find him and thought he was having coffee, and ran in, and there he was playing. And it was so funny because it reminded me of High Fidelity. So this is one of my favorite movies. And they go to a bar and Lisa Bonet is playing Baby I Love Your Way, right? And him and Jack Black and Todd and Lisa are standing there and they go, "Oh, you really used to hate this song. Now I kind of love it." And I got that sense when they stumbled in and they were like, for a minute, they didn't know what to do with Giles singing. And then all of a sudden the girls were like, "Hey, hey."
Okay. It must be kind of hard if you have a cast that is so talented. Like, obviously, Joss obviously knew that Anthony Stewart was a great singer and musician. So it must be hard to figure out ways to get him to sing where it actually makes sense. And I think this was an amazing way to do that. It made perfect sense. And I was so happy when I first saw it. I'm like, Giles is so dreamy, and now he's even more dreamy. I didn't need this, but here we are.
Devix, who played Key in season 5 Crush, they are playing the bronze, while Spike and Drusilla do the slow roll in and grab a couple and bite them and all that good stuff. So that's a really, Key is one of those seminal songs from Buffy that I always remember. It's also on the Buffy album. And it's just, kind of music video-like with Drusilla and Spike dancing, and then they pull a couple out and eat them, and it's amazing. That's an amazing scene.
That moment is something we didn't see in season 2 of Buffy. And it's actually the only time we see them in present time be that badass vampire couple. Because, like, obviously the beginning of season 2, right? Drusilla's weak. And then the second half of season 2, Spike's weak. And so I love that moment when they stroll into the bronze. I'm like, yes, this is Spike and Drew. This is like that vampire power couple that's like, oh, yeah.
Right. And you get how completely lethal they actually are.
Yeah, exactly.
Really kind of puts the fear back into Spike before the later seasons take it right back out again.
Well, and he's chipped at that point, so she has to make the kill for him. And then, and then he, of course can't help himself. Like, blood's got to be like heroin for them. So it's like, woo! Okay, so this is my favorite musical cue in all of Buffyverse. It's so tragic and so amazing. Michelle Branch is, it's Tabula Rasa, where everybody loses their memory and thinks they're somebody else because of a spell that Willow put on Tara to take away some of her memories. So she'd stop bugging she'd stop bugging Willow about abusing magic. And Michelle Branch was singing Goodbye to You, and after they came back, Tara realized what had been done to her and was like, "That's it. We've got to break up. You're messing with my mind, and we're done." And Giles decided to leave town, and the song is playing, and you see Tara packing up, and Willow crying, and Dawn being angry and ignoring Tara as she leaves, and Giles is on the plane, and they're finishing up the song, and the song pans from Michelle Branch across the bronze, and there's Buffy and Spike just leaned up on a pole, like kissing their faces off, just going at it. And my heart was just like, I didn't know how to feel about it because I'm a Spuffy person, but I was like, you're a Spuffy person knowing that this is the worst relationship for Buffy ever. Right. And so you're halfway thrilled because they have such, Sarah and James had amazing chemistry. And then you're like, oh, this is not good. Right. This is not good, but this is hot.
As a Buffy Angel girl, I was always scared that the show would have Spike and Buffy be together, but it would feel forced and it wouldn't feel right. So I was actually very oddly happy that is how they got together, because it was really realistic. And in my opinion, at that time, the only way for them to be together was if it was really messed up and like not right. So yeah, I could definitely see that. I was actually really happy. Very, very sad for the characters because they were both in a lot of pain, but really happy that the show did it in such a realistic way.
I mean, that's one of the main reasons I love season 6, because of Spuffy, but because of the complications of Spuffy, that really it was just about Buffy's pain and how she took it out on Spike. And he was, in a way, the only person she could trust. But she also just released all of her anger and her sexuality on him as well. And it's just so dark. I love it.
Yes.
He wasn't right for her, but he was right for her at that particular time. Like, he was what she needed to get through what she was going through.
Right. And you bring up a great point. I'm not sure what she would have done if he hadn't been there, because that had to come. Who would she have taken it out on, Xander?
Right.
I don't know. I don't think so, but you never know, because she didn't. If Spike wasn't an outlet, Riley was gone,
I think if she hadn't had that outlet, she wouldn't have kind of put that on someone else. It definitely wouldn't have been Xander. I think she would have just kind of sat on it, and it would have brewed for longer and then exploded in a different but probably far more damaging way.
Sure.
Probably sometime during end of season 6, beginning of season 7.
And finally, Angie Hart is playing the song Blue, which is an amazing song. Joss co-wrote Blue with Angie. She is a member of Splendid, who also played the Bronze on an earlier episode and played I Only Have Eyes for You. This song appeared in Conversations with Dead People, which is one of my top 10 episodes. And it plays while Spike, who has been subverted by the First and murders a young woman in an alley while they sing this song. And it's also a montage of all the other 3 stories that are going on. Dawn dealing with thinking her mother is back. Buffy talking to, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Holden. That was his name, wasn't it? Holden in the graveyard, who was a newly risen vampire. And it was just so well done. Like that's what I enjoy about the songs that they used in Buffy, was to punctuate moments, is that Joss absolutely got what song was going to work. And God love whoever edited those montages, like from Goodbye to You and Blue. Just amazing.
I've mentioned this before on this podcast, but I'm weirdly obsessed with like Andrew's obsession with Warren. I love that storyline, and it's so dark that he thinks he's been haunted by Warren, so he has to kill Jonathan. Yeah. And that's huge. And I feel like the lyrics for Blue fits every single storyline in that episode in a different way, because they're all completely going through completely different things, but all the same thing when it comes to like death. So like that's probably my favorite song with a montage in Buffy. And I know there's amazing ones, but that's, oh my God. Yeah.
To your point, I think, when you talk about Warren and Andrew, props to Adam Bush, who playing Dead Warren was just the creepiest freaking thing ever. Like, really and was. By all accounts, and you've probably met him, I've heard that Adam Bush is a sweetheart. And first of all, he was so scummy as a live Warren, and as Dead Warren, he was absolutely menacing.
Yes.
Like, That guy's got chops. And just to hit on some of the other great bands that were used in the show, just as either, songs or undertracks. We had Joey Ramone, Stop Thinking About It from Beneath You. The Dandy Warhols, Bohemian Like You from Triangle. Nika Costa, Everybody's Got There's Something from All the Way. Lunatic Calm, Sound of the Revolution from As You Were. Blur, who I love. That's Damon Albarn, I believe.
Yep.
It was his first band. He's part of Gorillaz now, or the leader of Gorillaz. There's No Other Way from Triangle. Alison Krauss. This was actually a moment from Entropy. I can't remember what was going on, but I very clearly remember Alison Krauss's song, What Kind of Love, playing while something just completely heartbreaking happened.
That narrows it down to just about every other scene.
Right. Yeah, that's only, out of 156 episodes, it's 150. Sarah McLachlan. Okay, so Sarah, big act, obviously, still a recognizable name, but she was huge in the 90s and early 2000s. She had the honor of having songs on 2 season finales. From Becoming Part 2, obviously, Full of Grace, while Buffy left town. And at the end of Grave, Prayer of St. Francis, when Xander talks Willow down and Buffy leads Dawn out of the underground, wherever they are, where the Bringers were. And, just really, really great songs for season finales.
Yeah, I can't even picture the season 2 finale without that song.
Yeah, when everybody says season 2 finale, all I see is Buffy on the bus with the song playing, with the landscape going by in the background. Just immediately, that's where my brain goes.
This is going to make me start rewatching Buffy again, just remembering all these amazing, poignant moments from the series.
And do you know, I did the songs, I pulled all those from memory. I didn't have to go look or anything. I just, those are what I remember.
Props to you, man.
Oh man, I love the song. I just love the musical cues in Buffy. They were just so well done.
But we're going to move on to the composers for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Such great music. So Walter Murphy did the music for seasons 1 and parts of season 2. Christophe Beck. He's the sound of Buffy. I know, he's everything. During his tenure as Buffy house composer, Beck drew a fair amount of praise from fans of the show and was regarded as having contributed the highest quality of music. Beck was the main composer on Buffy during season 2 through 4. He composed 2 more episodes after that, The Gift, Chef's Kiss, and Once More with Feeling, which was a contractual obligation, having signed on before he left the series. That's actually really interesting. I'd love to know the story behind that. Also, in early February 2018, La La Land Records released a limited edition 4-CD set of scoring from the show, including many of the suites from the 2 promotional score CDs, as well as some new cues and scoring by other composers and Carter Burwell score from the Buffy the Vampire Slayer film. He composed many memorable scores, and which we'll get to in a second. So, Christophe Beck. Yes, we would love to have him. We'd love to have him on the Nevers.
The Gift, my God.
I have to wonder if when it says he was contractually obliged to do Once More with a Feeling, if that's because when he came back for The Gift, Joss was like, look, while I've got you here, I'm just going to say, season 6, we're doing a musical. You're doing the music. Here's a contract. Sign it. It's a bit at the bottom.
Right.
Put in any freaking number. We'll pay you. Just come back to score.
Yeah, like you can't do The Gift until you sign this for also doing Once More with a Feeling. Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm so glad. I can't imagine Once More with a Feeling without him. Okay.
Didn't he appear in Once More with Feeling too? Wasn't he a piano player or something in it? I can't remember.
Wouldn't surprise me. There's quite a few. I think it's David Fury, the producer, is Mustard Guy.
Yep.
Yeah, he's Mustard Guy. Marty was Parking Ticket Girl. Marty Noxon. Yeah.
And I love how they're both in Dr. Horrible, but we could also talk about that for a million years.
Yeah. we will in about
and we will.
3 sections.
Yes. So yeah, we'll talk more about Christophe Beck in a second. Thomas Winker, he did the music for season 5 and 6. He was the main composer for the majority of the 5th and 6th seasons of Buffy. His work tended to be subtle, and he thrived in unassuming, mysterious underscore. Some of his best work appears in the tragic melodies, which are used in musical montages shown along when Buffy and Dawn are coping with their mother's illness, Riley's feelings of alienation from Buffy. Now that I think about it, I can't even think of stuff from season 5 and 6, but I actually love that because I think it fit those seasons really well. Then Douglas Romaine, season 7. He was hired by Joss to score episodes during season 7 before Robert Duncan was brought on. He was the associate music director on Once More with Feeling, which was nominated for an Emmy for Outstanding Music Direction. He also arranged Joss's song Mrs. in Selfless. Cool little tidbits. And then finally, Robert Duncan in season 7. He scored episode 2 and episodes 4 through 22 of season 7. Memorable scores are Chosen, Buffy and Spike's love theme, and Every Girl a Slayer, which plays while Buffy proposes her idea to overcome the first. So that score, Chosen, that was playing in the final battle sequence. Not only is it amazing, I can't even hear it without, crying.
It's so many people have reused it since Buffy. I've heard that score on a ton of things.
Wow.
I mean, it's such an emotive piece. Like, they talk about how music can really kind of stir the emotions. It is one of the most emotive kind of TV scores I've ever heard. You can't hear it without immediately kind of picturing the cave and them all rising up and you welling up. It's as close to a perfect piece of music as I've ever heard in a TV show.
I always felt like season 7 for that part of it was so heavily influenced by Lord of the Rings, the movies.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that score dropped right in, it dropped right into that niche really well.
Speaking of memorable scores and scenes throughout the series, here are a few of our favourites. We have This Is Nice from Surprise, which is season 2, episode 13, which was, of course, done by Christopher Beck. This is the first time we hear the Buffy Angel love theme, which I'm assuming is Gina's favourite song ever. It's when Angel is comforting Buffy after she's had a nightmare, and it's very passionate, kind of romantic theme, but also has this kind of austerity that really echoes the complications and sort of strange part of their relationship. Next, we have one of my absolute favourite episodes, and this is one of my absolute favourite scores, Remembering Jenny from Passion. Which is season 2, episode 17. It's an absolute perfect episode. Of course, it's Christopher Beck. It's the scene with Giles and Buffy at Jenny's grave, and it's one of Beck's absolutely most heartbreaking and haunting themes. And then, as I'm finding out literally this second, about a third of the way through, we hear some soft vocals kind of start to rise in, and apparently that was Anthony Stewart Head, which I didn't think it was possible to make that scene sadder. But now that we know it's frickin' Giles singing a lament for his lost love, I'm gonna have to take a minute and get something a bit stronger than water to drink. But I just love that episode because it's kind of it's quite a sort of generally quite a light episode. There's a few very funny scenes, and then with literally no stop, it goes straight from really really funny scene. Oh, phone. Sorry, what's that? Oh shit, Jenny's dead. Everyone's sobbing. It's just.
And jealous watching everyone's reactions, when they get the phone call. Oh my god.
So creepy.
Just feeding off people's anguish and pain like that. That's when you knew. They talked a lot about Angelus' style and that everything was slow torture and artwork. And that's when it kind of hit home that, he loves to just make people suffer. He doesn't go for the fast kill like Spike. he likes to draw it out and make everybody just suffer. It's like, oh.
In many ways, Spike is more dangerous because he's in your face, he's throwing things at you, blowing stuff up, shooting you, stabbing you, whatever it takes to get the kill. But then Angelus is the one that you never even see him coming. You're just there and suddenly all your friends are dead and your dog's hanging from the skylight and you're like, what the hell just happened? Oh, it was Angelus. Next up is Massacre from Becoming Part 1, which is Season 2, Episode 21, as if we have to tell you. Christophe Beck, once more. Buffy is summoned to the graveyard where she fights Angelus until realising that she's been used as a decoy in order to allow Drusilla and the other vampires to capture Giles. In a heartbreaking, ironic and so totally Whedon musical turn, Beck slides in a little bit of the Buffy Angel love theme just to hurt us with her kindness. We see the flutes and piano over the kind of heartbeat drums as Buffy arrives at the library and surveys this kind of carnage. You've got Kendra, the new Slayer, kind of dead in a corner, Willow comatose, Xander, as usual, taking a pretty hefty injury. It's just an absolutely horrific scene, and at the same time, you've got that Angelus dark humour where he's fighting and Buffy realises what's going on and she starts sprinting away and he's like, why do you always fall for it? Like, it's just such a great line because, like, let's be real here. Weren't we all thinking the exact same thing? Like, at that point, it's about the third or fourth time they've pulled that same trick on Buffy and she still falls for it.
Giles does it to her, Angel does it to her, Spike does it to her, everybody like distracts her and all of a sudden she's like, oh, I gotta go.
But what makes that with Angelus so much more heartbreaking for me is that, like, she's obviously still in love with Angel, like, no matter how many times she tries to tell herself, so it's like, oh, of course she would fall for it because, like, it's Angel.
And speaking of horrible things that happen to good people, our next track is Close Your Eyes
segue.
From Becoming Part 2, which is, of course, Season 2, Episode 22. Christophe Beck just ruining everything for everyone. This episode concludes with the epic fight between Buffy and Angel, and ending with Willow restoring Angel's soul just as Akathla wakes up and begins to consume the earth. It's that moment that Buffy realises what all this means and what has to be done in order to save the world. And so, she takes what must have been an absolutely impossible decision for her. Hugs Angel, pulls him close, close your eyes, and then she stabs him. And it's just... It's not right. I'm sorry. I've got to take a stand here. Whedon, stop doing that to us. It's not okay. You're not allowed to hurt us like that.
I just remember I was in bed immobilized because I had an ankle surgery. And this is when I decided to watch Buffy because I had ankle surgery and I couldn't walk, right? For 3 months, I had to stay off my feet. And I'd watched season 1 and that was great. And, I was like, well, I hope it's, if it's this kind of fun with an occasional really deep episode, it'll be fine, but it's not going to be everything that everybody always talks about all the time. I don't understand. So I started season 2 and by the end of it, I was just sitting in bed after that happened. Like, what just happened? Like tears running down my face. Like, oh my God. Completely traumatized, and I was on painkillers on top.
Oh no,
because
Oh, God.
I had surgery, and I was just like, Burn! And my ex-husband comes running in, and he's like, "What is wrong? Did you hurt yourself?" And I'm like, "No!" And I just pointed at the television, which was the DVD screen or something, because the girl arm crying had already gone off the screen. Oh, it was
Need a hug. Most appropriate.
Oh yeah, it was a mess.
Wipe
I was a mess. Like, I haven't cried that hard, I think, since the only other thing that made me cry that hard was the very series finale of 6 Feet Under. And I cried for a completely different reason on that one. This was just, this hit me like a back truck. And like I've said it before, like halfway through season 2, I was like, oh, I'm in.
Yep.
I'm down.
So yeah, our next one is a scene we mentioned before. It's one of my favourite scenes from season 3. From The Prom, season 3, episode 20. Once again, of course, Christophe Beck. Buffy is given a special award as class protector. It's a really beautiful thing. It's very emotive. Got these kind of soft woodwinds and strings, and it's piano and some quiet kind of brass accents, but it all rises to this epic crescendo as you see Buffy go from like, oh, what's in your or whatever. Like, it's for me, class protector? And it's like, oh, you can like...
The little umbrella!
I know. And I remember it's in season 4, we may be mentioning it later on, but probably not. In that episode where she fights the really, really annoying vamp lady that had the little kind of gang, when she's feeling quite kind of on the outs in the start of season 3 before she really kind of gets into her groove. And there's a bit where they've got all her stuff, and the evil vamp lady kind of lifts up the award, and I'm like, if you damage that award, I am coming to Sunnydale to kill you. I don't care that it's not a real place and it's literally impossible. Reverting back to season 3 so we can do this all properly. Next up, we have Faith's End from Graduation Day, Part 1, Season 3, Episode 21. Christophe Beck, of course. Many people will say, probably rightly, that, the mayor and the big demon, that's the villain of Season 3. But I still say the final fight between Buffy and Faith is the true kind of apex of that season. It's that's the real showdown. Having the whole kind of army rise up to take on the mayor, that's cool. That's kind of the final set piece, but it feels like the kind of this ridiculous, furious action music as Buffy and Faith fight.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's trying to get Faith's blood so she can save Angel, and Faith knows that, and they're fighting, and Buffy wins, but then Faith's like, I'm the one that really wins, and leaves so that she can't get the blood. It's just,
Oh yeah, because you didn't know who was going to win that. Like at the end of season 3, you knew because they always win. They always divert the apocalypse somehow. But could she beat Faith? Did she have it in her to beat Faith? Like, and when she stabbed her, I was just like, oh, she does have it in her
with the mayor's gift and everything.
With that badass knife, like, ugh. Just the iconic thing with that knife is Faith smelling it when the mayor gives it to her.
Oh my god, yes, yes,
like that. Just like, dang, Eliza.
Next up, from one of the legendary episodes, Demon Got Your Tongue from Hush, Season 4, Episode 10. Christophe Beck again. Buffy and Willow awake in their dorm room to find they're voiceless. The music matches this perplexity and then darkening from kind of quirky, what's going on, down to agitation and then genuine concern as they realise, they can't talk. I've got to say, I feel like this story needs to be said again just because it's one of my favourite ever stories. Just the power of spite. The reason we have Hush, one of my favourite all-time episodes of Buffy, is because someone said, oh, Joss, all he can do is write good dialogue. Fuck him. He's a one-trick pony. So he wrote an entire episode with no dialogue out of spite just to prove that he could, and he nailed it.
And got nominated for an Emmy for it.
Yeah.
Yep. And the kind of John Woo thing with Riley and Buffy.
Yes.
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 You see where, they turn around to attack each other and realize that, they're...
And again, I'll say it again. It's not just good because it's a strong, self-contained episode. It's a funny episode with a good quirk that is then utilised to really push the story of the season arc forward.
Oh, yeah.
It's like Once More with Feeling. Really great episode, brilliant musical. It works on its own as a musical, but it also forwards the story of the season so brilliant. Again, with Hush. Brilliant standalone episode, really well constructed. But then it also is the moment where Buffy and Riley realise who each other are, and that's one of the major arcs for the whole season. It's just,
Yeah.
And speaking of, we're not leaving the episode just yet. Second track from this episode, because it's that good. The Princess Screams. From Hush, Season 4, Episode 10, Christophe Beck. Buffy finds the box containing the stolen voices, denoted by the strings, harp, and the wind. Riley smashes the box. Buffy regains her voice and then just lets out this primal scream that destroys the gentleman. His friggin' heads exploding. Classic kind of horror special effects head explosions. Brilliantly done.
Funny side note, that wasn't Sarah who screamed.
Oh.
They had to have a stunt screamer.
Wow.
Really?
Yes. Like, Sarah screamed in the actual taping, but they wanted somebody that could sustain something much longer and steadier. So they thought about using Allie because she's the best screamer on the show. But they ended up, I don't remember the name of the person that they used, but they used a stunt screamer.
Okay, jumping forward to season 5 now, but still episode 10. Love Montage, this time by Thomas Wanker. Riley, upset about his standing with Buffy, has returned to Willie's vampire bar, where he allows a vampire to bite him before stalking her. The rhythmic, emotion-rich composition plays over their encounter as well as the following scene where Joyce is told the results of her CAT scan. I mean, it's such a tragic episode. You see, like, sort of two lives as they know it coming to very different sort of turning points in them, but no one comes out of that scene better than they were to start with. It's like, obviously it's, the beginning of the end, literally, for Joyce. She's, seen the results of her CAT scan. She knows this isn't just a headache. This is not going away. This is serious and horrific. And then you've got Riley, who at this point has reached such a low ebb that he doesn't care about his life anymore. And seeing kind of the duality of Joyce, who is now really struggling to keep what she has, and Riley, who has totally abandoned everything that he has, and then kind of combining the two with this amazing score that manages to hit kind of both of the feelings of the scenes and bring them together. It's really it's a very fine line to walk, but he absolutely managed it. Absolute credit to him for that.
It's so sad to me because Riley's obviously very dark at that point, and I feel like that's what Buffy would like for him to be, is more dark, and then ironically that's when they're not working out. It's really fascinating.
Well, I mean, he's obsessed with her not letting him in, and goes on this whole self-destructive dark thing because he thinks that that's what she wants, which is not what she wants. But she also doesn't, she's so inward with struggling, which I get because I'm the same way, that she doesn't feel like she can lean on anybody because she's this pillar of strength for her friends, and I get that Riley wants to be there for her, and it's not fair of her to shut him out, but, him going off and getting bit is not the way to Buffy's heart.
Right.
Yeah.
Ironically, because she really likes vampires.
It's kind of like she's been told this whole time, like, you're the Slayer, you've got the strength and the power, and you can do this, you can get through anything. And it's put her in a situation where she kind of almost feels like she can't show her vulnerability, and then Riley's there, like, please be vulnerable with me, and they can't. Like, I think if they'd met kind of a year or so later on, she would have been in a much better place to do that, and he would hopefully, he'd probably still have his issues because he's Riley. They were his issues. They weren't based on the situation.
I don't think they ever would have worked. That's my, like, as much as she thought she wanted normal, she didn't, and he couldn't. The toxic masculinity got the better of him in the end.
Yeah.
They never would have gone on kind of forever, but they would have lasted a bit longer.
Yeah, they would have been better.
Speaking of, from Into the Woods, Season 5, Episode 10. Season 5, Episode 10, another score from Thomas Wanker. Riley's about to leave Sunnydale for good, just as Buffy realises that she still wants to be with him. Or so she thinks. She, hairs across town, through the woods, to try and reach him before he leaves. And there's this kind of piano, cello, kind of concerto melody lifting up, with these heartbreaking vocals playing over Buffy's sprint to the helipad. He briefly, there's elements of the Buffy Riley love theme woven in, which kind of reminds you of the good times as you see it all collapse. Obviously, I was sad to see them break up, but at the same time, it felt like that was the only way their romance. There was never going to be some big final shouting match between them. It was never going to end in a big explosion like kind of Angel or Spike would have. They were always just kind of going to peter out in a vaguely disappointing scene. Like there was never going to be kind of any great drama between them, because I think if they were capable of that, they probably would have lasted a bit longer. But it's that scene's always it's a very mixed scene for me. Like it's sad and it's a bit disappointing, and the music is amazing, but at the same time you're just like, yeah, that's probably the best they could have hoped for.
What I love about that moment is it kind of tricks the audience, because I feel like on purpose we're not really rooting for Buffy and Riley, and then like Buffy and Xander have this amazing talk. Xander has amazing moments, okay?
He does.
And like all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, yeah, she should run after him. And I don't know, there's so many like contrasting emotions the audience feels. So yeah, I think it's perfect how they broke up. It's actually like a in a way that you would never think of.
I dislike that he gave her an ultimatum. That ticked me off. Like, you know, either we're going to be together and work this out, or I'm leaving. And I get, you know, Xander's up with people talk about relationships and everything. And I just thought that it was kind of abrupt. And I know that they wrote Blucas off the show because everybody hated him, which I thought was a shame. I don't like creatives capitulating to fan wank.
Yeah, totally.
Very much so.
But at the same time, that was like, that was the only way it was going to go, right? Like, at some point, they weren't going to make it. And so, rip the Band-Aid off. I felt like she didn't have time to process her anger, that she probably would have come around, but he stuck an ultimatum in her grill. And, you know, Buffy doesn't respond to that very well.
I was trying to put off reading this one because...
Oh!
I'm not sure I'm going to make it through this, but let's push on. Together we can get through this. Sacrifice. Season 5, Episode 22. The Gift. Of course, this was Christophe Beck. Who else could do this? Returning to score what was meant to be, and I still maintain probably should have been, the last ever episode of the series. Sacrifice is one of Beck's, but I would just say, in general, one of the most emotional pieces of music from the series. The balance of the strings, you've got the harp, it's an absolutely beautiful scene. Everything from the shot composition, the music, Sarah's monologue, which we're not going to dwell on for obvious reasons. Just everything about that scene was perfect. And then just to have this music that just so enhanced the already devastating visuals. It was just... the show could have ended there and it would have been absolutely perfect. We would have lost some amazing episodes, but we could have done them as OVAs or something.
I totally lost it during this finale.
Yeah.
This is my favorite piece. This is my absolute favorite piece. I like this better than season 7. The Gift final song, Sacrifice, is just it's iconic. It's the best piece of music in the whole show, in my opinion, and it's used to maximum effect with Sarah's monologue and Be There, Live for Me. Oh my god.
Don't.
Just and then it ends on the gravestone. I pre-cry now. Like there are certain things I know that are coming that I just start crying for before they start, because I already know what's coming. And I always think you're gonna get used to this and you'll stop crying, and I never do. Interesting side note: I had a really good friend die from breast cancer, and they asked me to give one of her eulogies at the funeral, and I used part of Sarah's monologue in it from The Gift.
Aww.
And her parents loved it. They had no idea who Buffy was. And I even said it was from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And they, they taped the eulogy, the whole service, because I spoke and another friend of hers spoke. And they gave me a copy of it, and I have never listened to it. Because I cried through the whole thing, for one thing. It sounds cheesy. I think it sounds cheesy when I say it, but I remember doing it, and it was amazing. And her parents loved it so much that I was just grateful that it worked for them. Do you know what I mean?
Now our final piece, in fact, final piece, The Final Fight, Season 7, Episode 22, Chosen, Robert Duncan. Willow's spell has created an army of slayers strong enough to take on the first and his horde of vampires. In addition to some grandly symphonic musical gestures, Duncan reprises his Buffy Spike love theme, as the latter has just used the amulets to channel the sunlight into the Hellmouth and destroy the army of Uber Vamps. The Hellmouth has collapsed and takes all of Sunnydale with it, leaving just this huge crater that was echoed in the hearts of all Buffy fans watching this final scene. Duncan's music is just epic, summing up 7 years of amazing adventures, this whole saga coming to end on a really emotive note of kind of resolve and completeness. Duncan interpolates the melody of the show's main theme into this kind of measured, conclusive final statement of what can only be described as sublime satisfaction. I mean, I know I literally just said 5 minutes ago that it could easily have ended with The Gift, and, we'll stand by that, but Season 7, Episode 22, Chosen, is still a absolutely stunning series finale. And, I mean, the fact that Joss managed to write not one, but 2 perfect season finales for the same series, it's just, I mean, it goes to show just how great he can be when he's kind of on his game. There are very few that can challenge him when it comes to writing really climactic, epic final moments.
The only quibble I have about the series finale is it should have been 2 hours.
Yeah, for sure.
But for what it was amazing. Yeah. I've read a couple of times that Sarah was like, we deserved a 2-hour finale and they wouldn't give it to us.
Like, just the theme and the metaphor of being a slayer and how Buffy's giving that power to, like, it really hits home for me. So I would say, like, I'm happy with season 5 being the end, but, like, just that fact alone, I'm like, no, I'm cool. I'm cool with the season 7 finale.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have gotten season 6. So.
I know, season 6.
I mean, like, and I've said it before too, season 5 is the perfect season, and it's a great ender, but then we wouldn't have had 2 more seasons.
Okay, we did a Twitter poll, because Twitter polls are awesome, and we asked which season of Buffy had the best score. Season 2 won I seem to recall, quite handily.
Handily, absolutely.
Would we all agree that season 2 was a very strong sounding season for Buffy?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd love to offer dissenting an opinion, but no, fair play. Season 2 was an excellent season.
I mean, the only season I thought that came close was 5. So,
I mean, if only just for Sacrifice.
Right. It's just for episode 22.
Okay, some soundtrack recommendations if you, like us, wants to re-listen and just reabsorb everything Buffy. There's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the album from 1999. It's a very simple name, to the point there. An album which has been on every sort of listening device I've had for a very long time. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Once More with Feeling from 2002. I would call that an essential Whedonverse album. Then we have Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Radio Sunnydale, which I didn't know existed, but I'm now going to have to go and buy, from 2003.
Yeah, it's a great album.
And then, lastly, the 4-CD set, Buffy the Vampire Slayer Collection, Limited Edition. That one.
I didn't know this existed.
Neither did I, but I'm going to have to soon purchase it, even though I have my CD player.
Apparently there's only like 3,000 copies of it, apparently. Like, it's not easy to find.
Yeah, I've got to say, there's some really epic set pieces, and some strong kind of thematic usage, and I really hope, I do really love when kind of characters and ships are given their own theme, and that theme is weaved through the episode. I would quite enjoy, like, just because I really want something from the Nevers, because I've got an itch that needs to be scratched. I would quite enjoy maybe just having a few character themes leaked out. Like, I want to hear just anyone. I need to hear something.
Odium needs a theme.
Odium definitely needs a theme.
Oh.
Let's talk about that at the end when we talk about the Nevers.
Oh, yeah, good point.
All right.
I'm getting ahead of us.
Before we move on to Angel, one last thing that I can't believe wasn't on the list as well is Drusilla when she's dancing in the episode Surprise in season 2, and she's dancing to the song, you already know, Transylvanian Concubine by, I'm gonna murder this, by Rasputina? Rasputina. Oh my god. Like, that song, I can't listen to that song and not think about Drusilla. Like, it's perfect. And she's so awesome, just dancing and that dress and everything. Whew.
What was the one? Say the one you forgot, Taheg.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
From Doppelgangland, Kay's Choice, Virgin State of Mind.
Yep.
It's a great scene. It's when Vampire Willow first enters the Bronze. And it's just what it kind of got me thinking. There is no point when a bad guy rolls up into the Bronze where they're not playing an epic song. Every time someone, like, turns up to the Bronze ready to, more than likely, within 5 minutes to kill someone, the music is always amazing.
Yeah.
So now the other Whedonverse, Buffyverse show, Angel. So the theme song is The Sanctuary, written and performed by Darling Violetta. A dark wave band based in Hollywood, California, recorded one EP titled Parlor and 2 EPs, Bathwater Flowers and They Kill You EP. Their name is taken from the salutation used by Bela Lugosi in Letters to His Mistress, Violetta, I'm probably saying all of this wrong, and Pierska. The band released their first EP, Bathwater Flowers, in 1997, and in 2005 the band composed an extended edition of the theme song, called the Sanctuary Remix, which is featured on the soundtrack for the series. Cool. They also appeared on the episode of Buffy, Faith, Hope, and Trick, the night that Faith arrived in Sunnydale. They performed the song Blue Sun while Faith tore it up on the dance floor with a vampire. They also performed Cure while Faith was regaling the Scooby Gang about her slang history. Some composers for the series. So we had Robert Krall, seasons 1 through 5, and Douglas Romaine, seasons 4 and 5. Krall was the main composer for the series, writing the music for 112 episodes from seasons 1 through 5, which is actually pretty cool. He was initially hired by Christophe Beck for season 1, with shared credit. Krall was employed by 20th Century Fox directly for seasons 2 through 5. So, obviously it worked out. Krall worked for Beck on initial episodes, with Krall then writing most of the episodes for season 1. Krall employed Zoran Boris and Douglas Romaine to write additional music for the final 2 seasons. The soundtrack Live Fast, Die Never mostly consists of his scores from throughout Angel.
That is
and
one
Romaine
of the best
was
soundtrack titles I've ever heard.
Right?
And Romaine was season 6, right, for Buffy too.
I believe so. Yeah.
So Angel also had a club, but it was a karaoke bar. So you didn't have as many notable songs in the run of the series as you do having it like front and center for Buffy. But one of the most notable songs is obviously Vast, a song called Touched, played during season 1, episode 2, Lonely Hearts. This was when the demon was plowing its way through its victims. It would take their skin and live in it until it started to break down and move on. And so it was a montage of this demon running through these different people while this song played. And it was kind of sad because, you know, Vast is a song about longing. And it was the whole point of this demon was to find something that can encase him so he could have a relationship and not be lonely, and he could never find it. Vast was considered to they were on the pilot, first of all. If you watch the short pilot that was for Angel, their songs are all over it. They played Here, Dirty Hole, Touched, and I'm Dying, and they were briefly considered to be Touched was going to be the theme song, but I guess they didn't go in that direction. But Vast is a great band. They're very 9 Inch Nails-ish, but I really love their sound. The other really interesting musical point.
No.
I'm going to have a hard time talking about this.
Can't.
In season 5, Hole in the World, Lorne is in Wilfram and Hart, and he starts singing My Little Sunshine, and Fred finishes the song, and as she's coming down the stairs to Wesley, I guess. And Lorne, of course, being a reader, when somebody sings, immediately, like a shot, realizes something's really wrong and looks up at Fred just in time for Fred to, you know, cough out blood and pass out in Wesley's arms.
You'll still find me for lunch, though, right?
I'll just look where the sun shines. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
You make me happy.
Get medical. Someone get medical now!
And at that point, we know that whatever she breathed in from the sarcophagus is in her. We don't know what it is yet. Obviously, it's going to be Illyria, and it's so heartbreaking. I mean, it's because it's just so bad. Like, the editing on that was brilliant. The look that Lorne gives when he hears whatever he senses in her song, it's just shocking to him. Like, he's like, oh my God, right?
I love and hate that scene. Obviously, it's a brilliant scene. As you said, the editing's perfect, the music is perfect, it's great, but like, it's such a sweet scene, and then suddenly she's coughing up blood and dying, and it's like, you can't do that, man. My heart can't take it.
So, speaking of Lorne, Club Caritas was a violence-free karaoke bar, neutral ground for every creature in Los Angeles, regardless of being human, vampire, demon, run by Lorne since Carlos. So Lorne sang a lot of stuff while he was on the show. Andy Hallett was a hell of a singer. And, you know, rest in peace, Andy. He sang I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor in season 2 Judgment. He sang Lady Marmalade twice. He sang it in season 2 Redefinition, and then brought it back in season 4 The House Always Wins when he had a show in Las Vegas. He sang Superstition and burned the house down by Stevie Wonder in season 2 Belonging. He sang I Left My Heart in San Francisco by Tony Bennett in season 3 Heartthrob. And in season 4, he sang It's Not Easy Being Green in The House Always Wins in Vegas. And he was amazing. He was such a performer, right? And I used to have friends that would take bets on where Andy Hallett's horns would be episode to episode.
Oh my God.
Because his makeup sometimes got super inconsistent, right? But I loved the karaoke portion. I loved when he sang. Like, it was such a brilliant mechanism for him to be a reader, an empath, only if people sang. And so he ended up kind of being the local psychiatrist. People would come in to sing to figure out what was wrong with them.
What I love about that, so it's weird. I watched Angel before I moved to LA, like right before I moved to LA. And then when I moved to LA, everything hit me. I'm like, oh, LA has so many karaoke bars, like so many, especially in West Hollywood. And then when I've rewatched Angel, I'm like, oh, it makes so much sense now. So I love that they had that kind of realistic aspect. Realistic, I say, is it's like, you know, run by, not a human. But I think that's super cool. And the fact that they made it supernatural. And like you said, Heather, they made Lorne have a reason for even having it, despite just having entertainment for the locals.
So speaking of having other people do karaoke, that was one of my favorite things, was having people you would never think to sing. Like, who would think of Angel singing? Angels, and there's a running joke about Mandy being his favorite song, but he sang Mandy in Judgment to try and so Lorne could read him, and it was awful. It was just terrible. And I'm pretty sure Boreanaz can't sing anyway, but he really played up how bad he was, and it was just so off key.
It does vaguely sort of humanize him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, he's bad at something. We can like him now. It's fine.
It was brilliant in its comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so funny. In season 2, the trial, once Darla had returned and been humanized, they were trying to get to the bottom of who Darla was, why she was back. And so she sang Ill Wind by Ella Fitzgerald, which was a really great rendition of a song that's really hard to live up to. Like, Ill Wind by Ella Fitzgerald is an iconic blues song. And I really thought Julie did a great job.
She has a beautiful voice. Like, I wish there was an Angel musical episode. But I would need Darla to be in it. And Juliet Landau sings too. So I would need some sort of like Fanged 4 flashback song.
I think I have a distinct suspicion that the reason there was no Angel musical episode is because those are the only two that can sing. We know Boreanaz can't. We know...
Marsters tries, but he can't. I bought one of his albums and I was obsessed with Spike, and I was like, this is terrible. In season 2 redefinition, Gunn, Cordelia, and Wesley get up and sing "We Are the Champions" by Queen. I don't even remember why they were doing that. Were they doing it to get red, or were they just... It
was just after Angel had sacked them all, and they didn't know what they wanted to do with their lives.
Yes.
So they all separately end up at Caratos
gotcha.
and decide, and they're like, oh, they're being quite kind of stoic about it. And it cuts away and cuts back, and they're all absolutely hammered up on stage, shouting "We Are the Champions," and it's just such a funny scene.
Season 2, Disharmony. We bring Harmony into the fold. I love Harmony. Oh my gosh, I love Harmony. She sings "The Way We Were" by Barbra Streisand. I didn't think anyone could murder a song harder than Boreanaz. Fred in season 3 sang "Crazy" in "That Old Gang of Mine" by Patsy Cline.
I love that scene because she sings it and she's all curled into a ball and she's singing it and it cuts back to sort of the gang and Angel's there and he's like, I swear I didn't tell her she picked this all on her own. It makes me laugh every single time.
And finally, LA Song. Most of us know Christian Kane is actually a singer-songwriter and has his own band. He sang LA Song in season 2, episode 18, Dead End. It was an original song written by David Greenwald and actually performed by Christian. He plays guitar, and it's alluded to that he's a musician all out through the show, but it was the only time we ever saw him see him perform a song in, almost full length.
Pretty girl on every corner, sunshine turns the sky to gold. Warm, it's always warm here. I can't take the cold. Streets littered with diamonds, everyone's glistening. This whole world shines so brightly, I can't see a thing.
I love Lindsay.
He reminds me, and I don't know if either one of you have seen Battlestar Galactica, but he reminds me of Gaius Baltar in his machination, in his motivation, because Baltar was always looking out for himself, and he would sell you out in a second if it meant he could save his own skin. But at the same time, he wasn't 100% evil. Like, he would also do good things, like. And of course, by the end, Lindsay was a good guy for the most part, but it's just that moral gray character that I really love about Lindsay's character throughout most of the series, that he's the wild card and you don't know what he's going to do. And I've got to say, I'm just so happy Christian Kane has had a career after Angel. That you see people on these shows, and some of them you never really see again. And for a while you didn't see Christian Kane, and then he got that Timothy Hutton show, and I was so glad for him. And he's worked steadily ever since. So it's just as much as I'm glad to see that J. August Richards is going really strong right now. There was a period after Angel where I didn't see a lot of him.
Next up, we have a few of the memorable Angel scores. There's a couple of really great ones here. We have Hero, Season 1, Episode 9, also called Hero, by Robert Kroll. Doyle finally reveals the real reason why he was sent to Angel, confesses his true hybrid nature of both demon and human to Cordelia, and makes the ultimate sacrifice for his friends in saving a group by deactivating a bomb sent by the Scourge to kill everyone.
My heart, God, I love Doyle so much. I love the actor that played Doyle. I'd loved him since he was on Roseanne. The whole thing is just tragic.
Ugh. In one of my favorite episodes of anything ever, there's a song called Rebellion. So it's in Season 2, Episode 7, Darla, and it was composed by Robert Kroll. The second part of a crossover with Buffy the Vampire Slayer that begins in Fool for Love. Fool for Love and Darla, oh my God. It's just one of those moments where I'm like,
so good.
The Buffyverse, like, this is it. It can't get better than this. This is awesome. And yeah, God, I love how they used a different composer in Fool for Love and then in Darla, but it still sounds similar, but just a tad different. So it's super cool. Then we have Through the Looking Glass. It's in Season 2, Episode 21. Trapped in Pylea Dimension, Angel and the group work overtime to survive, and Cordelia finds herself appointed ruling princess of Pylea. And what's awesome about this song is it's almost childlike at first, and then this awesome acoustic guitar part comes in, and then woodwind instruments, and it's just like so many different styles of music all in the same song, but it fits perfectly. Yeah, so amazing, amazing music.
And then we have I'm Game from Season 1, Episode 1, City of, by Christophe Beck. I'm Game was the theme. You may not recognise the name, but you'll absolutely recognise the music. It was used throughout the series whenever there was need for a kind of heroic background music, and it debuted in the very first episode when Angel decides to fight all the evil in Los Angeles. I'm Game then plays at the very end of the penultimate episode of Angel, Power Play, as the gang decides to go for their almost surely suicidal final assault against the Circle of the Black Thorn. I love the way they kind of bookend the whole series with the music. And as we mentioned before, if you want to listen to the amazing soundtracks, look for Live Fast, Die Never, 2005. It includes the score for the series and Christian Kane's LA song. Well worth looking out for. All
right, now we're going to move on to Firefly. Firefly, As we all know, did not last long. It did not have the benefit of being having a bar or karaoke bar or bands or anything like that, but it did, in my opinion, have the most iconic theme song of all the Whedonverse, which was the Ballad of Serenity. It was written by Joss and sung by Sonny Rhodes, and it just perfect. I find Angel and Dollhouse's lead-ins a little forgettable. I've always liked the Buffy theme song, but I never just loved it. And I love the Ballad of Serenity. It has so much heart, and it addresses through the music what the show kind of is thematically. It's amazing. The official soundtrack was released on November 8th, 2005 on Very Sarah Band label. I hope that's right. The most memorable song, again, was Ballad of Serenity. The other really memorable, probably only other song in there was The Hero of Canton from Jamestown. The song was written by the Mudders, the workers of the Canton factory on Higgins's Mood, in honor of Jane, who they thought stole money and redistributed it to them as sort of a Robin Hood character, which really Jane just threw it overboard trying to escape.
Jane, the man they call Jane. He robbed from the rich and he gave to the poor. Stood up to the man and he gave him what for. Our love for him now ain't hard to explain. The hero of Canton, the man they call Jane. Jane saw the Mudders' backs breaking, and he saw the Mudders lament, and he saw that magistrate taking every dollar and leaving 5 cents. He said, "You can't do that to my people. You can't crush them under your heels." So Jane strapped on his hat and in 5 seconds flat stole everything Boss Higgins had to steal. He robbed from the rich and he gave to the poor. Stood up to the man and he gave him what for. Our love for him now ain't hard to explain. The hero of Canton, the man they call Jane. Now here is what separates heroes from common folk like you and I. The man they call Jane, he turned round his plane and let that money hit sky. He dropped it onto our houses. He dropped it into our yard. And the man they call Jane, he turned round his plane and headed out for the stars. He robbed from the rich and he gave to the poor. Stood up to the man and he gave him what for. Our love for him now ain't hard to explain. The hero of Canton, the man they call Jane.
The song makes a second appearance at the end of the episode, but this time in an instrumental arrangement and slower, more melancholy version, as Jane and Mal discuss Jane's impact on the Mudders and what truly makes someone a hero. It was so funny just in that whole episode to watch Jane just bathe in the glory of being a hero because he'd never been one, and he clearly was enjoying himself.
And kind of seeing that sweetness turn sour in his mouth as he sort of admits what actually happened. It's a very strong Jane episode, and I think he really needed it.
Yeah. I can't wait to when we do Firefly for the Patreon, but yeah.
But yeah, here's the thing. Believe it or not, because it's, such a truncated run, Firefly doesn't really have that many memorable scores. So instead, we're going to just discuss the scores that accompanied memorable moments or episodes and sort of go from there.
I thought there were a lot of good scores in Firefly.
We've got a few here, see if you can add any more. We've got a big bar fight from the train job. which, if you remember, is the first aired episode, if not the first intended episode. Great episode. Great song. Really kind of summed up the quote. It's funny how you always find yourself in an Alliance bar on U-Day looking for an honest drink.
Yes. Mal looking for trouble,
always. It is a line that just kind of sums up everything that happens with Mal. We've got early takes Serenity from Object in Space, going from beginning to end here. This is when Serenity encounters Jubal Early, a ruthlessly professional bounty hunter who will stop at nothing to retrieve River, but River, already feeling unwelcome in the ship, takes a somewhat novel approach in staying away from him. Great episode. Probably not quite the finale we were expecting, but it's the one we got, so.
Was that the finale? I thought The Message was the finale.
Well, I know Object in Space is the last one on the box set. I'm not sure if that's on the air, but I know that's the last episode that is kind of on my collection.
Maybe The Message is the last one they shot. I don't know. I'll have to look at my trivia.
I think The Message is the last one they shot, because I believe the funeral scene in The Message was recorded just after they found out that there was not going to be any more Firefly.
It was like, it was super funereal.
That is that last scene where they're all sitting there, they all look really sad, and it's because actually they're technically mourning the show,
right?
Not the friend.
Sad.
But yeah, the funeral from The Message, as we're talking about it, brilliant episode. A former independent soldier who served with Mal and Zoe returns in a somewhat dramatic manner, with vicious Alliance officers chasing him for some unusual smuggled goods. It's also the episode which introduces possibly the most iconic prop, besides Vera in all of Firefly, Jane's hat.
Yes.
Brilliant episode. And that whole funeral scene is just beautiful. And then we've got that really kind of quiet, somber music. Everyone's looking quite down. And then there's
the voiceover.
The voiceover is just...
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
I've only seen Firefly once, so I can't wait to do it for the Patreon.
It's gonna be fun.
Then there's Inara's Suite, which is it's played whenever any scene, usually with Mal and Inara in her little pod.
Yeah.
It's always a great scene. Whenever you have those two together, it's going to be fun. And there's always that theme in the background.
Yeah, it's really beautiful violin music.
It is,
I love it.
Very fitting. Kind of, it really captured Inara's character, despite being a very minimalistic track. It really manages to kind of sum up everything you know about her. Next up, we have Out of Gas / Empty Derelict from the episode Out of Gas, considered by many to be the best episode in the show.
Yes.
While on its way to Greenleaf, Serenity suffers a catastrophe that leaves her crew with only hours of oxygen. As the crew struggles to survive, flashbacks show how Mel and Zoe acquired the Serenity and assembled their motley band. Brilliant. And that last scene where you realise that the voiceover isn't quite what you're expecting. It's hard to pick a best episode of Firefly, but I think we can all agree that Out of Gas is a very strong contender. And I do think the music used in that is a strong kind of a strong contender for why that episode is so brilliant. It really kind of ties the disparate story elements together in a way that is kind of required for what is essentially a very kind of fractured episode. And then the last great scene with great music is River's Dance from the episode Safe. Mal must choose which crew members to save when one is gravely wounded and two others are kidnapped. Simon finds an uneasy haven in a remote village, but River's uncanny perceptions jeopardize the Tam's temporary safety. Great episode, and kind of the vaguely creepy theme for the town and with the reveals it's perfectly done.
And Summer Glau gets to dance.
Yay! Summer Glau always dances. I've not seen a show of Summer Glau where she hasn't danced. Soundtrack recommendations. If you want the Firefly soundtrack, it was released in 2005 with scores from Greg Edmondson. I would recommend you buy it, but only if you know none of the money will go to Fox.
Just stream it on Spotify.
Yeah, good call.
All right, next is Dollhouse. So the Dollhouse theme song is by Jonathan Brooke, and it's called What You Don't Know. And before I read the lyrics, or some of the lyrics, her song Inconsolable was featured in a episode of Buffy, and it was featured in Prophecy Girl. Super cool. Again,
I didn't know
Right.
that.
Again, keeping it in the family. And yeah, the Dollhouse theme I was never crazy about. And then when I was doing research for this episode, I heard the entire song and I love the entire song. Like, I would have loved if they used any other part. And not that the part they used is bad. It's just like, I'm just going to read a few of the lyrics. What you don't know won't hurt you. Maybe the lies are true. Try to remember, try to forget those yesterdays bleeding through. And that's just like the first verse. Like the entire song's like amazing, and the melody's great, and the singing's great. So I'm mad at the Dollhouse theme song right now. So go listen to it. What You Don't Know by Jonathan Brooke.
The only thing I can say that I like about the theme is it has the kind of jewelry box dancer sound to it when you open it, and it's got the little ballet dancer in it. It's got that at the end, which I really like. But as far as the whole theme song, the segment that they use has been really unmemorable to me.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, easily my least favorite of the Whedonverse intros. It's like, it's not a bad song. It's just, it's in very strong company and it just doesn't hold up.
Right.
Have you guys heard the full song?
No, but now I will check it out after
No,
this.
but I'm going to go listen to it now.
You're going to be so mad because I was in the same boat. Like, oh. Yeah.
Musicals. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on the musicals because the musicals are going to be a standalone show, I believe. Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 6 once more with feeling, of course. This was except for Cop Rock, this kind of put musicals in a television format on the map and how it can actually work. And it's inspired countless other TV shows to do their own musical episodes. And I remember Josh saying that Buffy was so dramatic that it was a no-brainer to do a musical episode because everybody was on the verge of bursting into song in the first place. and I get that. It makes sense. The other musical is Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, which was written during the writer's strike. We actually we discussed this on my show, the Neverscast, and it was done at a time nobody was working. All the writers were out on the picket lines trying to get a fair deal. And internet properties were not covered. I don't know if they are now, but at that point they were not covered under union rules so that that was an outlet for them to create. And Josh got Neil Patrick Harris and Marissa and Jed helped him write the lyrics and the words, and they shopped it. I just recently heard that everybody passed on it to include Amazon. Yeah, Josh talked about that on the panel he was on with Nathan Fillion for Comic-Con. So it's just really interesting, and it discusses this kind of mid-level wannabe supervillain who's really not a villain and just trying to impress the girl who is, Penny played by Felicia Day, who is love and light and giving and everything pretty much he doesn't want to be. So I don't know why he thinks that she'll be interested in him. He seems to think the way to impress her is to do all these villainous things, which of course is not going to work for her. But it goes through, him trying to impress her and her falling for the actual hero who's actually really the supervillain. And it's a great exercise in downtime.
Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog was the first Joss Whedon thing I had ever seen, and before I saw it, all my friends were like,
"Really?
You have to watch it. It's from the same guy that did the Buffy musical." And back then, I was like, "Wait a minute, there's a Buffy musical?" I thought there was an actual stage production. I knew nothing, so I was like, "That does not make me want to see Dr. Horrible's sing-along." Cut to many years later.
Well, we all have, I didn't watch, I guess Taheg watched it when it aired. I didn't watch Buffy when it aired because I thought, I saw the movie in the movie theater and I was just like, I can't imagine, how is this, who greenlit this? And so, I didn't watch it, and I don't think I could have watched it at the time. I don't think we had the channel it was on because I was in Louisiana of all places at the time, and their cable was the top, the big four, and that was it. But yeah, I finally went back and watched it because of Firefly, and then I was like, oh my God. Boy, am I dumb. Like, and now I have a Buffy tattoo, if that tells you anything.
Yeah, I sort of watched it as it aired. I've mentioned this before. I watched it as it aired, but when it aired in England, it was about two, maybe 3 seasons behind America.
Really?
So, like, we were still in high school when America was meeting Dawn. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we will discuss this because we're going to do a whole episode of the musicals. We'll discuss it, but I just want to kind of put this in again. I think one of the reasons why Once More with Feeling works so well, and why, in my opinion, none of the other musical episodes, especially Flash, was god-awful, work, is that Once More with Feeling works as a standalone musical episode, but it also just works as an episode of the show. You could take all the songs out and it would still work as an episode. And that's what I think a lot of the kind of modern musical episodes have failed to do. They always just make them silly standalone episodes, and that's why they fail where Joss succeeded. But we'll cover that more later on. For now, we will discuss Joss's film soundtracks. Very cool. We had Serenity, which was done by David Newman in 2005. Avengers, which was, of course, Alan Silvestri in 2012. Just a brief quote. "The most satisfying thing about the Avengers is that soon I will finish it," he said with a weary smile. That's quite an undertaking, although listening to Alan Silvestri conduct an 80-piece orchestra didn't suck. It was really a beautiful experience, he said, of watching the Oscar-nominated composer at work. He did such a great job. You're listening to live music and watching your movie form in a way that it doesn't until it has that music. That was exciting. And that's a quote from Joss on alansilvestri.com. And then, in what I still consider to be his most underrated film, it is just brilliant. 2012's Much Ado About Nothing, which has the score by Joss Whedon, because not content with just making the best adaptation of The Bard we've seen on the screen, he also thought, why not? I'll do the music as well. And then we have Age of Ultron, which was Brian Tyler and Danny Elfman from 2015. Joss wasn't satisfied with what Tyler was delivering, so he brought in Elfman to redo some tracks. I really hope he doesn't do the same for The Nevers, because I cannot stand Danny Elfman. I'm sorry.
What? Really?
Yeah. Whenever I hear him, all I can think of is Tim Burton, and I can't stand Tim Burton either. So they're just they're so meshed in my brain that I can't separate the two.
So I like Danny Elfman. I don't like Danny Elfman for superhero movies.
Oh my god, Spider-Man! No!
But I also, I'm going to get around to crap for this, but I didn't care for the Avengers soundtrack.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I thought Alan Silvestri's music was underwhelming. No. I loved the movie. Well, I loved 3/4 of the movie. I thought the beginning was kind of slow, but I loved the rest. Like, loved the rest of it. But the score just didn't do it.
When the Avengers are all on that circle and the camera's going around them and that music.
I know, don't get me wrong, it had its moments, but it just, I don't know, it didn't stay with me. I think my summation of that is it was fine. It was fine.
Yeah. Damning with faint praise. Yeah.
I loved the Serenity soundtrack. I loved it.
Yeah, David Newman did absolutely fantastic work. There's so many kind of beautiful points. Like, the Miranda theme, where they're walking around that giant abandoned city, and there's just this kind of quiet music in the background. It's just, and then the way it kind of dials up when everything goes to hell. It's just
so good. And my favorite part was that, and also when the ships dragging the Reavers come out of the clouds. Come out of the fog, and you see them face off in space, and just the music there is amazing and epic and just so effective. And I just love the Serenity soundtrack.
And I have to say, just because I can never pass up the opportunity to say good things about this film, the soundtrack in Much Ado About Nothing, I didn't realise that in addition to sort of not writing, it's to doing the screenplay and directing.
Right.
Joss did the soundtrack for Much Ado About Nothing as well. I mean, that's unfair. But what I really like about the music in that is it's beautifully subtle. There's no kind of big set pieces. There's no giant sort of marching band music. It's all it's quite low key, and it just so perfectly fits the kind of deconstructed feel that they have in that film. Like it's very clearly a film he shot with some friends at his house over a weekend.
Right.
And they could quite easily have tried to buoy it up by really going OTT on the soundtrack, but they didn't. They kept it all quite subtle, and I think that just perfectly captures the mood of the film. Let's wrap up. Just we've got a whole sort of 5-hour podcast now about the music of the Whedonverse. We can't really let this go by without saying who should score the Nevers.
Oh boy!
I feel we've touched on this a few times, but we're going to do it again because I need to reiterate that Bear McCreary has to do the soundtrack. He just has to. He's so good with those kind of multi-layered sci-fi music. He's just. I really can't think of anyone else that has the kind of the blending of futuristic and classical that you're really going to need for this show better than Bear. Except maybe John Williams. That's because John Williams is amazing at everything.
Oh, John Williams is too bombastic for this.
Interesting take.
For me, I beyond love David Arnold. He did Good Omens recently. He's done a lot for the BBC Sherlock. The Victorian episode of the BBC Sherlock, I'm sorry, again, I think is beyond amazing. Yeah, so I think he would nail this show.
So I also would love to see Bear McCreary get it. I really love him ever since BSG. Just that tribal beat that he did for BSG is unbelievable. I would also, and this is way out in left field, my favorite score soundtrack from a movie of all time is from The Fifth Element. And I believe the guy that did it was named Eric Serra, and he's a French composer. And I just thought that listening to a soundtrack, I just love that one. It's so engaging, and it's so definitive that you can hear the notes in the film in the music. So yeah, it's Eric Serra. So that would be really cool if they got him. I wouldn't mind if they brought back David Newman.
Yeah.
All good picks.
And obviously Christophe Beck, but we've mentioned that.
I think we've now mentioned him about 100 times in this episode, so yeah.
Hola, Salima. Hola, Salima.
I think that's us for the day. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcast, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Feel free to drop a subscribe and hit that bell so you'll be notified whenever we upload anything. For more Nevers-related content, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are at HBO The Nevers. If you want to listen to us or read some amazing articles, head over to the webpage. It's hbothenevers.com. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, send them to us at theneverspodcast@gmail.com. Heather, Gina, thank you so much for coming on this epic journey with me today. Do you want to kind of let everyone know where they can find you if they want to talk to you on social media?
I'm Heather, your illustrious new host, and you can find me on Twitter at HMB at TNP, and that's that.
Oh, I love that you're a part of this. Oh.
Thank you.
You could follow me on Instagram. I'm Gina Gemini. Gemini spelled Gemeni.
And I've been Taheg, and you can now find me on Twitter at Taheg at TMP. That's TAHEGATTNP. So, until next time, this has been the Nevers Podcast. Okay, jumping forward to season 5 now, but still episode 10. Love Montage, this time by Thomas Wanker. Riley, upset about his standing with Buffy, has returned to Willie's vampire bar, where he allows a vampire to bite him before stalking her. I'm sorry, this next line.
Wankers and Willies! Oh dear! Taheg is verklempt.
I can do this.
Oh my god.
Ooh, Lord.
I can't say wanker's rhythmic. The rhythmic, emotion-rich composition plays over their encounter as we...
This episode was written and produced by Matthew Yamanashi and Heather Malone and edited by Matthew Yamanashi at Culture Inject Studios. The intro and outro music was produced by Guilherme Moraes. We are more than just a podcast. We're a fan community. You can keep up to date on The Nevers and chat with other fans by visiting hbothenevers.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search HBO The Nevers, all one word, and click that follow button. The Nevers podcast is not endorsed by Mutant Enemy, Warner Media Entertainment, or any of its subsidiaries, including Home Box Office, HBO, and is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. The Nevers and all names, pictures, and audio clips are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective copyright holders. They're coming. Are you ready?
All right. We're going to, now that Gina's been sequestered, we're going to talk about memorable songs from Dollhouse. There wasn't a whole lot, but the ones that stood out were really good. One of the most mainstream songs in Dollhouse was Beck's cover of Everybody's Gotta Learn Sometime. In season 1, episode 12, Omega. Ballard gets Melly November released from the Dollhouse, and Echo's imprints are erased. It's a montage. It's very sad, but a good ending to the show. So if you know the song, you can imagine.
It fits beautifully, and I think they could have gone other directions with that scene. I'm very glad they chose that song, and I think I'm not a huge Beck fan, but I think he absolutely nailed it. That is a really strong cover of that track.
I'm a big Beck fan, and I thought this was a great use of well, I like Beck's lo-fi stuff.
Yeah.
He tends to change his style every album. And some of it I'm here for, and some of it I'm not. But a lot of the time, the lo-fi and The Information is one of my favorite albums ever by him.
I'm not sure I've heard that one. I may have to check it out.
So good. It's like a concept album. It's crazy.
I do like a concept album.
The other song we want to talk about now, this song is really beautiful. It's really close to my heart. It's called Remains. It was written by Marissa and Jed. It is the season 1, episode 13, the unaired finale, Epitaph 1 for Dollhouse. It's the final song. Remains is a single from Marissa, Tangerine, and Jed Whedon, and it was released on July 9th, 2009. The track was co-written and produced by them especially for inclusion in Epitaph 1. And Marissa sings it. So, it also has a music video where Marissa plays like a real doll kind of thing. And Fran Kranz is the one that ordered her. And he pulls her out of the box, and she's happy for a while. And then he gets bored with her and orders another one. And then well, I'll let you guys watch it because it's really sad. But
yeah, I didn't know that was Marissa singing, and I didn't know there was a music video for that. So I'm absolutely
Marissa is quite the triple threat.
Yeah,
quadruple threat. She sings, dances, acts, writes, directs. I mean,
her and Jed are a real dream. Like I've never seen anything that they've done either singly or together that I've disliked. Like all their stuff on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been amazing.
So I just got done watching. I've finished season 6, and I'm partway through season 7.
Which was season 6?
Season 6 was the crazy Dialas, the Stones, and Fake Coulson, and the big truck.
Yeah, I didn't like that season.
So it was very hit and miss for me. Yeah. But I gotta tell you, Marissa playing Sequoia, who was Deke's girlfriend at the startup.
Yeah.
Slayed me. She was so funny.
She was, yeah.
But yeah, so Remains has a music video. It's super good. So you can just Google Remains Dollhouse and it'll come up. And finally, there's also a great song called Your Ghost. It's a cover, but it's sung by Greg Laswell, closing of season 2, episode 8, A Love Supreme. Spoiler alert. This is when Alpha wipes Ballard.
Yeah, that was That was a really savage scene. I'm really looking forward to seeing Gina's reaction when we get to that episode, because she loves
my
Violet.
God.
So
Season 2 is so dark.
Yeah.
So dark.
I can't wait. There's so many horrible things for her to scream through. It's going to be brilliant. But yeah, I really loved that cover in there. And it worked so well with the scene. Like, it's such a harsh scene, and then his song track over the top was just, so perfect.
We would be remiss if we didn't talk about the musical episode, but the music was kind of poppy and forgettable, so we decided really not to talk about the musical episodes. Or it wasn't a musical, but it was, the
pop episode.
It was Echo being deployed to protect a pop star and kind of a bodyguard sort of thing, but meh.
Yeah, like, in terms of sort of the Whedonverse music, we know they can do it really well. We know they can write amazing music, but it really felt like that episode was them trying to write the most generic pop tracks they could.
Right, insipid pop track ever. Well, and I also feel like this was part of the first 5 or 6 episodes that didn't stick.
Yeah.
Right?
The bad times.
All right. I think that's all we got. We can let Gina back in.
We can wake her up.
Wake Gina up.
And then we're out. Whew, that was epic. We are now sitting at just shy of 3 hours. And I'm pretty sure at least half an hour of that was just us laughing at Thomas Wanker.
You can't just put Wanker and Willie in the same paragraph and hope we survive it.